Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ruby, this is Ruby Red, and today we're gonna play round 2 of my TBR game, Take a Hike. I created this game heavily inspired by TBR Star Hop and Mini Star Hop, which are games from the channel Stephanie's Bookverse, and I'll link her playlist of her TBR game down below because it's really fun, so fun that it inspired me to make a version for myself that is basically the same game but with a different theme. So that's how we got here with Take a Hike. Hike themed. Woods themed, maybe. Anyway, round 1 was really fun. It was pretty chill, so I'm excited about round 2, and I'm really excited to be continuing to work on reading my own TBR because it got a little out of hand for what I like to have personally going on. At the end of the last video, I think I said that my own TBR was sat at 41, but then I just, as I was sitting down to film this, remembered that I never added Malice by John Gwynne to my owned TBR, but I own it and I want to read it. So I added that. Now we're back to 42 when we start this video, okay? So anyway, the goal of this game is to move around the board and to read books from my own TBR based on prompts that I draw, depending on what space I land on. And I generally am gonna really try to stick to this rule of 1 library book per episode. Like if there's a prompt that I can't fulfill with a book on my shelf, or if there's a prompt that a book for a book club that I'm trying to participate in might fulfill, like I can read library books for my book club picks, but basically everything else is my books. Okay, let's get started. All right, here we are, ready to take our little froggy on a hike. And I have kind of a bunch of books that I need to be reading. So let's hope that I can work them into this in some way. Awesome. A 1. A pretty cover. That one, no problem. All right, for our first prompt, we have a leaf prompt, pretty cover. And for that, I've decided to read Northwoods by Daniel Mason. I love this cover. I'm annoyed that the copy that I have has this non-sticker sticker on it, but this book I'm so excited to read. It is a book club book, but it is one I own. This is my pick for Bailey's book club Shelf This. This is the book that we're going to be reading in March, and I actually started this book last fall. I think I had an audiobook and I didn't know a thing about it. I just was drawn in by the cover of the audiobook. I got a 7-day loan and I didn't get that far in the 7 days, and then it had to return. And then I was like, I was liking it so much that I wanted to eyeball read it. So I didn't try to get the audiobook again. And then the last time that I was in the city, I was walking around with Connor and we went into a bookstore, and I like to buy a little book when I go into a small bookstore, okay? And so I bought this. And I can't wait to read it and then talk about it in book club. All right, let's do the next roll. Okay, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 4. That's another leaf prompt. These are my leaf prompts. I'm not sure if I should be putting the papers back in so that I could have, okay, love, so that I could have a chance of picking the same thing twice. Okay, for our second roll, we got another leaf prompt, and the prompt is under 300 pages, and I'm going to pick The Ashokan Way by Gail Straub. This book is 158 pages. It does look like more than that, but I think there's a lot of blank pages, and there's some photographs as well. This is a book I already started. It's a book by a local author who has a regular walk that she does every day in all weather around a reservoir that's in this area. And so this is just basically a little essay or a memory or something from every month of the year. So it's 1 year around the Ashokan. And she came and spoke to the community at my library in the fall, and so I got the book in order to because I wanted to read it and because I really liked her talk, and I thought I would try to read it like in the season, like I would read the essays for that month in the month, and there's like 3 per month, but I just don't think I'm that kind of reader. So I read like the September, November ones, whatever, and I just thought I would keep up with it, but I absolutely did not. And so I think I'm just gonna read the whole thing and enjoy the whole thing. So this is another book that's been on my currently reading for quite some time. I guess Northwoods hasn't been on my currently reading because I do plan to start over, but this one I won't start over, so I left it on my currently reading. That's just sort of how I do things. Anyway, this is our second book. Hooray. Next roll. Now, that's just great. I'm gonna do a 30 by 30 book for this snail. Okay, we got a snail. The snail prompt means we have to slow down, and our next roll we move backwards. And for this snail, I decided instead of doing my next prompt twice, I was gonna take the 30 by 30 prompt. And I'm gonna be finishing another book that I started in the fall, and that is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is a book from my 30 by 30 list, and I started it and read about 2/3 of it in October this year for Chaos-tober. I decided to only read books from my 30 by 30 list, and in that month I tried to pick like the longest ones still on the list, and I did complete 2 really long books from my 30 by 30 and 2/3 of this other really long one. So now I have the rest of this, 1 more quite long book, and then I don't know if it's 3 or 4 regular length books to complete in the next 7 months before I turn 30. Yikes. So yeah, I'm gonna be finishing this for my 30 by 30 snail prompt. I don't want to talk about it. Let's move on. Okay, and I'm gonna pull another leaf book. This is our 3rd leaf prompt. NetGalley. That's great. I love getting through my NetGalley books. Okay, another leaf prompt. This is great. A NetGalley. So, like I already said, I have a lot of shorter books on my NetGalley available to me, but what I'm gonna do is pick an older book that I was approved for a while ago that I know I'm gonna be able to get the audiobook for, because I need to have an audiobook. And so I will be using the library to get that, even though I do have this as like an own TBR. That doesn't count as library use, okay? It counts as own TBR. I'm gonna pick The Future by Naomi Alderman. I requested this, just all that I know about it is it's a sci-fi, like apocalypse-y, but like technology sort of book. And it just sounded so completely different from another book that I read by her called Disobedient, which I didn't love the book, but it just, I mean, I guess I liked her writing enough to think that I'd like to try more by her, and then to have such a completely different type of book, sounding book, whatever. I requested it and I never read it, so I'll be reading The Future for this prompt. Now I would like a big number, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, a big number and another leaf, which is great. Those are my easy ones. POC author. This just means an author who is not white. That is related to one of my goals this year about reading less white authors. Oh my gosh, another leaf prompt. Okay, but that's fine. The leaf prompts are the easier ones. The flower ones are slightly harder. But okay, a BIPOC author. I'm gonna pick another ARC, which is Universality by Natasha Brown, who is Black. I read another book by her called maybe The Assembly, which I didn't love. I did like it, but I liked really her writing. I liked the way that she wrote the story, and so when I saw the synopsis of this involves like a murder with a gold bar, I was like, yeah, she's gonna nail that, because I think that the way that her writing is, it's very, I don't know, I think it's gonna be good. I'm not gonna try to talk anywhere about it until I'm actually reading it, but that's the one I'll be reading. It's not very long, so that's good, because now we've got quite a few books and we're not done yet. But let's roll again, shall we? We do have quite a few books, so I'd like another big number, please. What is that, 5 books? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yay! My choice. All right, this is gonna be a lot of reading, but I'm excited about all of those leaf prompts. That's wonderful. Phew. Okay, we made it to the lookout. So for my final prompt, I get to read anything that I want. And you may have noticed that none of these books were library books. There was one book club book, but it's one that I owned. So for my choice, I'm gonna pick a library book that I'm reading for a book club at my library, which is Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond, I think, which is about poverty in America. I think it's self-explanatory. It's a nonfiction book, and that book club, we're sort of trying to alternate fiction and nonfiction, so this is a nonfiction pick, and I'll be totally honest, I am like almost halfway done with it right now. But we're slotting it in here because I really don't want to read any book this year that doesn't get put into a video. That's what I want. So those are the books. These 3 plus 3 more on my Kindle. 2 more on my Kindle and 1 audiobook. Hooray! I'll talk to you again once I'm reading something. Wait. I just went back to check to make sure that all of my books that I'm currently reading are also still counting as part of my own TBR, because until I finish it, it's on the TBR. And one of them I never put on my own TBR, so it's actually 43. We're starting with 43 books on the own TBR in this video. Okay, The Future. Every time I'm gonna talk about this book or write it down anywhere, I write The Power, but that's a different book by this author that I have not read, but that I might read now that I have made some progress in The Future and I'm really enjoying it. The Future, I think I just reached 30% of this book, so I wanted to say what I think it's about. It's something that maybe, I don't know, there's elements of the book that are hard to wrap my head around with it being an audiobook, but because there's like some forum messaging elements, basically we're following primarily one character, but there's many other characters that we might follow again, I think. It's too soon to tell. Basically, it's all about surviving the end of days, like prepper stuff, but like one of our main characters is like a tech prepper, in that she's, you know, an influencer in the sphere of like survivalist gear and technology, not just like, you know, how to make a shelter with some sticks, but like what kinds of gadgets can you get that are going to help you survive, like when the worst comes or whatever. And there's other people who are also in the like survivalist sphere, but not really. They're in the tech sphere. So there's a lot of stuff about like tech companies and like social media and how they're being like leveraged to, I think there is some algorithm has been created that's going to predict like the end or like the big one or whatever. And so there's a select group of people who are signed up for this like alert that have gone in on this project together. And so like slightly before whatever thing that's gonna be the apocalypse, like whatever thing that is, but right before it happens, this group of people will get an alert so that they can like prepare before everything hits the fan and kind of like get to their bunkers or whatever before there's like mass chaos, and know that like they're gonna survive and be okay. This group of super rich people who are gonna go to their bunker, but then I think there's also some like not super rich people who are gonna also get into the bunker. Or is this story not even going to be about the bunker? At this point, I don't know. But I am enjoying it. The tech stuff is kind of fun. This book was written, I don't know. I don't usually really like when there's like heavy social media stuff in a book. But it's not social media that is real. It's like they're talking about like different apps and stuff that are similar to like Twitter and Instagram, but aren't actually those. And so that makes it a little bit more palatable to me for some reason. And also, I really enjoy some of the forum posts where different people, you know, with different like handles are posting on this like end of days website, like Reddit-like website, and there's different subreddits or whatever. It's not Reddit, but there's different sub forums for different like flavors of preparing for the end, like survivalist, there's like religious ones, there's like a few other ones presumably that I don't know about, but there's a few characters on the forum that are probably characters that are not on the forum also, like from the other part of the story, but I don't know who everybody is yet. And they have discussions on the forums. That's kind of all I was gonna say about that, but I'm having fun. All right, I hope my new favorite filming spot is okay. It's just that I get good light in through this window, and I have like nothing too busy behind me, and it's the bedroom, so I can close the door and Connor is not as loud, in case you were wondering why I picked this window and not. Anyway, I like it in here, so I hope you like it here too. I have been reading. So this, the Ashokan Way, refers to the Ashokan Reservoir. I live in the Catskills, and one of the reservoirs in the Catskills is the Ashokan, and the author lives very close to the reservoir, close enough that she takes a walk near it every day. And so that process of a daily walk through the same path through all the changing seasons and decades in her case, because she's been doing it for so long, has given her a very serious, a very deep appreciation for the landscape, and she's been able to so far tie it into various parts of her own past and her own philosophies, and I find it lovely. And I don't feel personally connected to the reservoir in the way that she does, or to the main mountain peak that she talks about, which is High Point, which I guess is just like a dominant form in her own personal neighborhood landscape. But one thing she did say is that she had been married in her home, which overlooks High Point, and she thinks of that mountain as, one of the witnesses of her marriage. And I feel similarly, because I was married under the mountains here in my yard. There's a lot in it about like faith and devotion specifically, which is just something that I really enjoy reading about, the woods and the mountains and the streams plus devotion. I just like the vaguely religious aspect of it, so I'm really enjoying some of that imagery, and I'm gonna keep reading it. It's very fast. Okay, I also have been reading Universality, so I don't totally know what's going on in this book yet, but I thought it was like gonna be a murder mystery sort of thing, because what I knew about it was just that it begins with somebody who gets like beaten to death with a gold bar, and I know from this author's other work that I thought there was going to be a lot of juicy race and class sort of discussions within the narrative. And there still probably will be, but it's also like the person who was killed by the gold bar, it happened on a farm that like somebody had bought as like a idealist like end of the world kind of plan, but then it had been sort of taken over by squatters who were like living there like it's a co-op, like they're like communally living, working the land, like they're sustaining themselves, like they have their own community, and they're like radicals, so there's many characters within that group. And also we've met like the owner of the property and his wife, who he's in the middle of divorcing, and it's like told in a little bit of like a sort of a sitcom way, where like you're reading kind of from the husband's perspective of like, he bought this farm, but his wife, she always thought it was stupid, she never respected his dreams or something, something like that. And then the next paragraph starts with her saying, "Oh, I'm not surprised he told you that, because he always thinks blah blah blah," and it's just funny. I don't think I'm explaining it very well, but I'm enjoying it, and I will be back once I know like more of what the actual plot is. So far it's just like there's a lot of characters, and the meeting of like these people who want to live off the land versus like people of intense privilege and entitlement. So those are the reads. Okay, I did listen to a bunch of The Future yesterday, and also I took, like, when I took my reading break during the afternoon, I was reading Universality, and I actually have to stop doing that. I cannot read them at the same time, so I'm gonna finish The Future before I dive into Universality, and I'm just gonna be reading my physical books and not the ebook, because they're not actually super similar plot-wise at all, but like vibes-wise they're very similar. And I just, like, when I was trying to get into Universality, I was just like getting myself confused thinking about the future. Like, I was just like thinking about those characters in the context of this book. It's actually plot-wise and like character-wise it's much more like Birnam Wood, but like conceptually, I guess, like, I don't know, the overall themes are still a lot like The Future. So yeah, I'm gonna finish that before, yeah, that's the order that I'm gonna have to do things. Morning. This is an update because I haven't necessarily read anything, but I want to share some feelings, which are that I'm feeling really like stressed about everything that I have to read, and I'm feeling like this deadline of the end of the month approaching, and it's like making me feel so like anxious and concerned and like rushed, but like there's no deadline. Like, I don't have to finish anything at the end of the month. I had to finish my book club book for book club, which I did, and like I can finish this episode whenever I want to. So why am I so like feeling so high strung right now? And that's making me not want to read. It's just like it's making me not able to relax. Another thing is that I'm not balancing my work and slash school and reading well right now. I'm very much like I'm not reading any books at all because I'm focused on schoolwork, or then like once, like, you know, if I have something, an assignment is due, then the day after that's due, I know I won't have anything due again for like typically 2 weeks. So then I'm like, okay, like now I can read, and I'll spend the whole day reading, which I love to do. But I don't know, I don't like that cycle of just like binging, you know, on one day and neglecting schoolwork and housework also in favor of reading, and then the next day is like not reading at all. I would just rather read like a little bit in the morning. Like when I first wake up, I would love to just read for half an hour, and then before bed for maybe another half hour, read, and then go to sleep. Like, and then I have the rest of the day, and I used to do that quite consistently. So I think I'm gonna try and like really dedicate to that this week, and we'll see if it brings you any more reading updates. Okay, I'm just sitting here reading The Ashokan Way. I'm doing like Zoom sprints with Lizzie and Danielle. We do these all the time, honestly. It's so nice to just like hang out with friends in the comfort of my own room, and we just will like set a timer together and do whatever we're doing. Like, usually Danielle and Lizzie are reading, or sometimes they work on videos, and I'm sometimes like I'm doing homework, and I just like, yeah, by the time it gets to like the evening, I'm like not really as focused. So it's nice to just like do smaller work blocks and have my friends to chat to in between, and then it evolves into reading for me. That's sort of a trend we've got going right now, which has been really nice to just get to yap. And yeah, so anyway, I'm reading now The Ashokan Way, and I've made it to spring. This is in the middle of March, and there was just a little quote that Gail is quoting from a different poet, but I just wanted to share because I really liked it when I read it, and also just thinking about it, especially in this context of like a moment where I'm reading with my friends. Your friend is your needs answered. He is your field which you sow with love and reap with thanksgiving. He is your board and your fireside, where you come to him with your hunger and you seek him for peace. How cute is that? How wholesome and warm. Your friend is your needs answered, and I do seek my friend, both with hunger and with peace. So, just wanted to share that. I'm reading, and I guess now I could also offer an update, which is that I'm almost done with The Future, and something happened today that I like jaw dropped. It sort of like took a turn that I was not really into, and then it took like another turn that I was like, okay, I'm back in, I'm locked in again. And then like something else just happened that I was like, what? So it's been a roller coaster. I feel like very, like at this point in a book, often I feel like I can tell what kind of rating I'm gonna give it. But this I just think has been so, I don't know, and I've also taken quite a while to listen to it is the problem. And this is the problem with audiobooks sometimes. Like I think if I had just read this book, I might have liked it a lot more, and I'm thinking that as I'm reading it, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, this would probably go better if I was reading this eyeball. So I'm trying to this year listen to less audiobooks, but I don't have a good podcast. I keep meaning to try to listen to music again. Anyway, I'm almost done with The Future, and then hopefully I'll finish The Future like tomorrow or something, and I will also finish this. I'm only halfway done, but in the next couple of days, so that after I finish this I plan to go back to Universality because the other I need to finish The Future before I can read that, and my other book right now is for TBR Spin. That's taking up a lot of my time, and I have my next audiobook already, but it doesn't fit into this episode, so you're not gonna be hearing about it from me right now. You'll hear about it from me probably later. What? Love my friends. Okay. These ice sculptures are so cool. Wow. What? This looks like a bird. Oh my god. That's so cool. There's my little man. The sky is gorgeous. Beautiful day. Beautiful day, right, Carbon? Look at his little ear flaps. Oh my gosh. Okay, I finished The Future yesterday. I finished it on my way to go get my haircut again. I got my haircut, obviously, already, but then I went again and I got it. Now I have these little things. I got it touched up. Okay, we don't have to talk about it. I just wasn't really thrilled with my first haircut, so I called and was like, can you please help me? And she did help me, so things are hopefully going to be much better now. Anyway, so I finished The Future in the car ride on my way there, and there was like one more big reveal that happened that I have been dropping my jaw for the last like couple of times I've listened to this book. And so then I was sitting in the chair like, because I was so like thinking about it. I really liked this book. I feel like the beginning of it I was into, and then there was like some middle stuff that I was like, I don't know, like maybe I'm not gonna love this. But then the end really sealed it for me, and I did love it. And I think, like, I don't know, I got, okay, I fell for it. There was a twist at the end that I didn't expect. I didn't expect there to be a twist. And then, like, there was. There was some really fun reveals at the end that just, like, made me really rethink how I was feeling about the middle sections, although I still feel like the middle of it dragged a little bit. But, and I also, even more, actually, I have actually very big complaint, which is that a lot is going on in this book that is about or related to the relationship between these two women who have like a whirlwind romance kind of, but I didn't buy it. Like their interactions on page were very limited. I wish we had seen a little bit more of like, just like why you know, I don't need to have their whole romance documented, but I just would have liked to understand their connection a little bit better, because that's what the book really is like surrounding. Anyway, the algorithms, the AI stuff, the billionaires with their bunkers stuff, like all I really liked. There's one character who grew up in like a sort of like extreme religious group that I also found all of the writing about that to be very interesting. So I'm definitely going to read The Power by the same author because of how surprised I was by this book. I'm really excited about it. And I wish I knew somebody who had read it so that we could yap about it, because I've got thoughts that I would like for us to be connecting about. So if you've read this book, hit me up. Or if you read this book in the future, remember me. Okay, I think I need to pause on this book. I'm just not like that into it, and I was into it when I was first getting back into it, but now I'm just not. And I'm more than halfway through, but I'm just feeling so excited about some other books that I have coming up. I'm excited to get back to Universality. I'm excited to start Northwoods. I'm so excited to start Northwoods. So I feel like I just need to hold off on this, like, and I'll come back to it like later. But yeah, here's my official notice that I am stopping reading this, and it's possible I won't finish it. Like, I just might decide that I read enough of this. And I maybe actually will come back to it in a different season, because I have no idea what my hair is doing right now. Sorry. I was enjoying the winter parts more, and now I'm in like the summer parts, which is just so far away. And so I maybe I was just like resonating a little bit better with like the gloomy imagery of the winter chapters, and even like the spring ones, because I was like, yeah, that'll happen soon. But now in the middle of summer within the book and the beginning of March in real life, yeah, I don't know. I'm not excited about it. And I need to be excited about reading right now when I have so little time to be actually reading in my day-to-day. It needs to be good. So I'm still working on my TBR spin book. It's taking forever. But yeah, I'm just excited to be moving on. Like, I might start Northwoods. Crazy to be out here today in short sleeves when parts of the reservoir are still frozen. But she sure is beautiful. Reading update for Northwoods. I'm about 100 pages in, and I feel like they flew, but also there's a lot of like blank pages in here. So I started this, 2 days ago, and there are pages, I'm gonna explain what it's about, but like between the sections, there's like just cutouts of like, I don't know, these are like kind of like looking medieval art or something. Do you see that? But then there was this one at the end of section 3. That's just like a full page photo of what looks like, I think, Queen Anne's lace. I can't really see what's behind it. That looks like Joe Pye or something. And anyway, so I really like it. I mean, I'm not sure how the book club discussion is gonna go, but so the way that the story is sort of structured is, it's a story told through time. So it starts in, I think, the Puritan sort of era, 16 somethings, I don't know, sorry, in New England, in Massachusetts. And I don't know if it ends like in the present day or the future, but the story follows, a train, like a something through time, which often is like a multi-generational family saga, right? Where you'll follow a family throughout the generations, but this is not following a family, it's following a piece of land. So the first, these two people who run away from the Puritan colony and decide to, you know, build a house and live on this piece of land out in the middle of the woods. And they build a cabin, and then it's like who comes there next and who comes after that person. And also, I think it's potentially about apples. The first part of it was very much about apples. Maybe the rest of it won't be about apples. I've only read the first 3 like chapters, parts, and already there has been some wild stuff happening. And I really like it. I'm intrigued by just the concept of place as the center of the story, landscape as character. I'm vibing with it. But I also, like, you do not know what each section is going to bring. Like, some of them are more of a typical narrative. This is a letter. There's this whole section. I'm not doing good. The Reminiscences of an Apple Man, which is like some writing by this man who's obsessed with apples, sort of just like divided into chapters of his own life. There's also like a ballad or a song for voice and fife. So I'm finding that really kind of a fun element. Like, you do not know what you're going to be reading next. And I find the writing to be really, really engaging. Not even engaging, just like, I don't know, interesting. It grows warmer until the water that gathers in the hoofprints of the deer no longer freezes in the night. What a thing to say. You know what I mean? That's what I like. I like that chapter in particular was extremely like written like that. The other, you know, the more narrative-y parts are not really written like that. I'm obsessed with where I live, here in the Catskills in New York, and this is not set here. It's set probably in the Berkshires, or potentially like Taconics, right on the edge of Western Massachusetts, so the border between New York and Massachusetts, which is like an hour and a half east from where I live. A lot of the plants and trees and stuff that they're name dropping, like, it's very similar composition to like what the forest looks like here. So I've just been appreciating that. I'm really enjoying this book. Okay. Wow. She's so wonderful. We're happy to be in the woods. Where's the dog? Oh, there he is. Northwoods is so good. That's basically the whole update, because I don't know what I can say about it. Really, it continues to be interesting. It continues to be like moving forward in time, but with like such always an interesting narrative structure. It's making me so excited, and it's also making me think about how, like, I think of myself as someone who doesn't like short stories, but so much in Northwoods is like, it is just a string of short stories that are all connected, in this case by place, but I think this could have been short stories. Although I guess, like, how much could you read each of them and still appreciate it, because they do all sort of like connect to one another, or not all, but a lot of them do. So I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm really enjoying it. I just today went through and like tried to put a timeline together of when I think each of the parts happens, because they start with like the first settlers who came from Europe. And I think my most recent chapter was in the early 1900s. So I just went back and I tried to pull some references, like somebody references President Teddy Roosevelt, or like a specific car model is mentioned, like when did they make that? There's a specific school of painting that was mentioned. So I can sort of place things in that way, or there's references to wars and all that good stuff. But also there's been devastation. It's about the Northwoods, the woods in the Northeast United States, and what has happened to those woods over the last hundreds of years. I'll tell you what, tragedy after tragedy, species after species being decimated by an invasive disease or a beetle or a fungus or something brought in that the trees had no immunity for and no way to combat, because it's not a natural predator for them, and just wiped out the whole thing. So First, we have the American Chestnuts. This is not spoilers, I don't think, because I grieve for the American chestnut. I've never beheld one. I know there are a few that remain, but very few. Although I think like they're working on that. And then the elm. And right now we're dealing with the repercussions of the emerald ash borer on the ash trees. I've got loads of dead ash trees around me. So yeah, the blight of the trees, the plagues of the trees has been really tough to read, frankly. And there's a lot of other devastating stuff happening within the lives of all the other characters and all the other storylines, but I care about the trees. So, but yeah, I think it's phenomenal. I want to read everything this man has ever written. Excellent. But it is making it very hard to read anything else because it's so good. It's like when I'm reading something else, I'm like, why am I reading this when I could be reading Northwoods, you know? But I do have some other things, and I'm just trying to make sure I get to everything, but it's tough. Anyway, thanks. I just finished Northwoods this morning, and I don't want to be dramatic, but I think it's my favorite book of the year. It's definitely a 5-star. I will really be shocked if we don't see it in the top 3 of my bracket. Like, it will have to be up against some really phenomenal books to not make it to the top 3. I loved this book. I loved like the mystery parts of it. Like, so aside from the puzzle of like the when of certain sections, there just was like a continuing thread of inheritance and who gets the house, basically. Where does the land pass to? Who buys it? Like, that sort of thread was just interesting to try to keep up with and try to remember like who's who. And then stuff started being unearthed, basically. Like, some of the mysteries of the past like were getting brought into the present, and so then you had characters who were trying to put together like the mystery, and that was really fun to see all these dots kind of coming together. And then, gosh, the very last section, well, not like the last one, the second to last one, I loved. And it goes on like kind of into the future of like climate disaster, and that was written in such a way that it just like called back on all of the other disasters. Like, I think, well, I said earlier how upset I was about all of the tree deaths. That's just how it goes, you know? Things come and change the woods. The Northwoods is a changing organism, and so disaster isn't necessarily ever like the end. It's just like, it's just changing. I don't know. It gave me like a little bit of like, I liked the viewpoint like a little bit, but not enough to relax about climate change and invasive species. But good try. Yeah, just phenomenal. I'm gonna be requesting everybody I know read this book. I am gonna give it to my mom as soon as possible. Yeah, what a phenomenal book. And I found out that a local book club that I'm not really a member of did read it, or they will be reading it in the next month. So I'm probably gonna go to that meeting too, just so that I can gab about how much I loved this book. Wow. Can't wait to discuss with Shelf this and with everybody else that I've ever met. Quickie update. I have dived. I have dived. I dove. What? Do I speak this language? I jumped back in to A Little Life 2 nights ago, and dang. Maybe I don't need to update about that. Okay, I don't want to be somebody who records themselves sobbing while reading A Little Life. However, I did just finish An Ugly Cry, and really what I want to say about the book right now is that I hope that someday Hanya Yanagihara will use her powers for good instead of evil. Like, to be such a phenomenal writer, in my opinion. I haven't finished the book yet, but I'm close. I'm afraid. And I know she's written other books since this, but I'm not totally sure, but I think people have the same kind of sentiment of like, it's pretty devastating. But like, she could do so much for the world, I think, if she would write something good and happy. Oh, wow. That took a lot out of me. I could literally only read about 4 pages before I had to stop. Okay, I'm here to talk about Poverty by America, which I read a long time ago at this point. I was like finishing up editing this and I realized I actually don't have any footage of me talking about it. I think I just lost the footage. I feel like I must have updated about it, but maybe I just remember talking about it with my book club. Anyway, I did really like it. It was a good read. What I remember thinking was really strong about the book is that it explored who benefits from poverty and who in America benefits from keeping a large amount of people in poverty, and like why things are structured to facilitate that. And it really sort of asked some good questions about how people who think of themselves as, liberal and wanting, to help the poor, etc., but then not at the cost of their property values. Now, if you're going to put low income apartment building on my block, no way. Zoning, So some of that got explored. It's really not about like what it's like to be in poverty in America. It's sort of about why to be in poverty in America. And it also what I thought was really interesting was how it highlighted like tax breaks for the wealthy and all these ways that the wealthy can gain more wealth and stay wealthy, that are things that are just not accessible to poor people, and how being poor is expensive. So I really like that book. If you're interested at all in these systems of oppression, I think definitely give it a read. It's very much like he's just chatting with you. I think one of the weaknesses of the book could be just that it lacks that personal element of like one person's experience through poverty, such as you might get from that book called The Maid, not The Mystery by Nita Prose, the other one that was made into a Netflix show or something, or a Hulu show, I don't know. It doesn't have that personal slant because it's not really about like a person or, like I said, about living in poverty. It's about why and for who. So there you go. Can't believe I can't find that footage. Did I do it? I finished this book. And that's pretty much the face I made the whole time I was reading it. A Little Life. Yeah. I was devastated. Talking about this book is gonna be hard because I think it's criminal how widely this book has been recommended, how casually, how much people are like, this is the best book ever, like, and that means everyone should read it, because I thought it was an excellent book, but I don't think anyone should read it. I don't want anybody to read this. I don't want anybody that I know or love to experience this, because it was just really hard. And I know people talk about it being like a trauma porn, and I see where they're coming from. I don't really have anything to add to that discussion, but yeah, I think that Hanya is like one of the best authors I've ever read. The writing in this was just so phenomenal, and the way that the story sort of kept going back on itself, I really loved this book. But yeah, I don't want anyone to read it. So sorry to my friends who are planning to read it. I definitely don't recommend. But that means that we're done with this episode. I also never wrapped up universality in this vlog. I'm literally doing the final cut of this video, and I'm like, wait, we can't wrap it up yet. I also never talked about finishing universality. What the heck? I know I'm gonna find the footage later and be so annoyed with myself for having to refilm this and say like meh things about it when I remember doing an update about it and I had a lot to say, and now I really don't have a lot to say because my feelings about it were not great. I didn't end up loving it. I did actually just start it over because when I had been reading it with the future, I was getting confused, and then when I went back and I just started over to get the full scope of things because it's a very short book, and I read it in just a couple of days, and like there was really no reason for me to have been so confused with the future. I think I just, like, my brain was fried in general at that time. But the first part of it is a journal article, a magazine article, like a New Yorker sort of style piece about someone getting hit with a gold bar at this rave on some millionaire's like country estate that he never goes to. There's squatters there, and they threw an illegal COVID rave. Like, it was during COVID, and gatherings like that were illegal, and so it got busted. And in the chaos of it getting busted, somebody had the gold bar that this guy had and hit someone else over the head with it. So the article is about that, and about like, how did this happen? Like, who is this man who has this land? Who are the people who were squatting there? Why were they squatting there? And who's the guy with the gold bar? I mean, who did the hitting? So it's a magazine piece. That's why it was kind of like snappy. And then after that piece, you get chunks of book from, like, sort of talking about the aftermath of that article, like the author, what happened to her life, what happened in her life after she wrote that piece. And she sort of, you end up discovering kind of like what was embellished or exaggerated or misinterpreted or whatever to make a good story. And then you also get to meet some of the other characters from that piece, like what happens to them after it's published and how does their life change. And so it did end up being very much a commentary on race, class, privilege in the UK, just as I anticipated. However, I don't know. I just didn't totally enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy reading it. I think it probably is technically a very good book. However, technically, I didn't like it. So that's my review for Universality, literally months after I finished it. I'm so behind on editing. Anyway, let's wrap this up, please. And so I've got some stats to share. Okay, I started this episode with 43 books on my TBR. I think I said it was 42, but it was actually 43. But then, despite having read 5 of my own books for this episode, my current own TBR is 42. Because I had to add Golden Fool because I read Fool's Errand and the next one's Golden Fool. I don't have all of the Robin Hobbs on my own TBR. I just slot one in when I take the next one off. Anyway, and I got a bunch of arcs. I don't know what happened to me that I like requested a bunch of things and then they all came in and I was like, wait a minute. These count for my own TBR. So yeah, now I'm back to 42. For real this time though. I'm certain that's all of them. And I'm down to only 4 30 by 30 books left, which is great because I have about 6 months, just under 6 months to read those. I can totally do it. I started reading for this video really on February 4th, but also I started a little life, the final book I finished, on October 15th of 2024. But if we're saying we started for this February 4th, I finished March 31st. So about 2 months. I did read a couple of other things in between this for other videos and some projects that I started a bunch of books for another series and then I kind of canceled that. So I started about 6 books, I think, between when I started reading for this video and when I finished, and I have 5 DNFs. One of those, though, was The Ashokan Way, which is like, I'm saying a soft DNF because I'm keeping the book and I might finish it someday, but for now it's off my own TBR. I'm not considering that a book I need to finish or I need to read. So pretty good. 1 DNF in this video, a 3-star, 2 4-stars, and 2 5-stars. I mean, and Northwoods, I'm still thinking about and I'm still excited. And this week I'm going to a book club meeting at my local library where they were reading it for their book club. I don't normally participate in that book club, but I saw the poster and I was like, oh, I'm gonna see you there to talk about my favorite book. So thank you for hanging out with me during this, I think, probably extremely long video. I haven't started editing it yet, so that'll be a fun treat for me later, but I'm really pleased with this game and I'm gonna keep playing. So I'll see you next time. Bye.